we got a caller from Spain that has a question for us. So Rob's gone. Pronouncing him wants to talk about humanist organizations running political candidates. How are you, Rob?
Hey, Matt. Hey, John. Yeah, thanks for taking my call. First of all, I feel it's a good segue, actually. I love that last caller. And it kind of moves into this, what you're saying. I can't understand why. I mean, I know you're part of the humanist organization, Matt. Sorry, would you mind clarifying what role you have, or do you any part of it?
I don't have a role in any humanist organization.
Oh, okay. I was mistaken there, but
I'm not aware that any humanist organization is. And sorry, I'm going to say this, and this isn't for you, Rob. This is for everybody else out there. I'm going to say this flat out. And if somebody wants to call in on behalf of a humanist organization to correct the record, please feel free. I've been in this community for decades. I am on the board of directors for American Atheists. I have run local organizations. I've been a part of national organizations. I get invited to speak at Christian organizations and apologetics events. I get invited to speak at atheist events. I get invited to speak at skeptic events. I get invited to speak at the Secular Student Alliance events. I've almost never been approached or asked to speak by any humanist organization on the planet. I have not been involved with any significant humanist organization on the planet. I don't see them doing anything. I don't see them having any significant events or working to promote particular values. The broader atheist community is promoting humanism, I would say, more frequently and better than any humanist organization I'm aware of. So you're asking basically, Rob, why aren't humanist organizations running political candidates? And for all I know, they are, but we don't hear about it. And here we are. I mean, is there some humanist platform that gets more views and has more reach for, a secular humanist audience than a number of the atheist channels that are here? I'm not convinced that, humanism exists and humanist organizations exist. What the fuck are they doing? I don't know.
Exactly my question, my friend. Yeah, where the fuck are they? What's going on? I mean, there are prominent atheists. I mean, besides this channel, I love this channel. I love what you guys do. But I look at, and I know you know these guys, Matt, and I look at Dawkins and Sam Harris, and I think, well, these guys aren't humanists. I mean, they're supporting a fucking genocide right now. They're shitting on trans community. They have no respect for the human rights of a massive population of the world. And I'm looking at the likes of, I love US politics. I love to keep up with it. I'm looking at the likes of Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar, who are Muslims, and they're doing a hell of a lot more for any humanist sort of agenda than any secular organization. Where is the secular political will? Where is the secular political groups that decide to get into the mess, to get into the muck, to get into the UK politics, the US politics, here in Spain? I don't see any sort of prominent political movement for an atheist. And you don't have to be atheist and say, fuck all religions, we hate religion. You can be atheist and say, listen, you have the right to your religion, you have the right to your prayer. Bernie Sanders and AOC are doing their Fight the Oligarchy tour. Not once have they said, tax the fucking church. What's going on? Where are these people? Sorry, that's my rant.
Well, so specifically, like here in America, there is a little bit of concern because of the 501c3 status, because the tax-exempt organizations can't be seen as endorsing or dissuading people from any particular like political candidate or anything. So like I don't think that you're going to find any tax-exempt organization out there that's going to be endorsing a candidate because that would be a violation, and they'd probably get their tax-exempt status taken away. Now, I don't know if there's a for-profit humanist organization out there that could do it, but if there was, then they could endorse. And my wife KC in the chat there mentioned that I'm going to be having Fish Stark on my channel, who's the executive director of the American Humanist Association, to speak on things that are pertinent to the humanist humanist cause, and part of that is going to be somewhat political. So I mean, it's not that they don't speak on political matters, but as far as a very specific topic of like endorsing candidates or speaking out against, sorry, what was that, Matt?
I was just saying, I was agreeing. Sorry, that they can't do that.
Yeah. So I mean, I feel like there's candidates. Right, exactly, and so you'll probably hear less about humanists like talking about political candidates, or not candidates, but political topics and whatnot. But I think that's just probably because they haven't really had very good, like outreach in that particular regard. The atheist sort of effort out there, like strictly atheist effort, has been a lot more vocal, with like the atheist.org, American Atheist, that organization, like a lot of people have heard of, as well as plenty of other organizations out there. And more secular organizations also are a lot more vocal. So I just think that maybe their messaging has been a little off. I know Fish Stark, who's like I said, the executive director of the American Humanist Association, he was at Free Flow this year speaking on a lot of pertinent topics. And so I think that you'll probably see more humanist, speakers and people speaking on that particular topic coming out, just because I know Fish Stark over there at the AHA is kind of somewhat of a new hire. He came into the organization and everything kind of fresh, and so I think that you'll be seeing a little bit more of that. But I think that there's probably fewer humanist organizations out there for you to actually hear from, as compared to the more secular or the more atheist organizations.
Yeah, John's completely right. And as somebody who used to run a 501c3 nonprofit organization, I can go back to the things that I used to say, which is that we wouldn't be allowed to endorse candidates, but we are absolutely allowed to discuss issues and talk about our perspective on those issues. We can't tell people how to vote in a party thing, but we can produce voters' guides. When I ran the atheist community of Austin, we produced voters' guides. We polled everyone running for office in Texas, and we just did it as an informative thing because we don't think that our issues and positions on our most important issues were being addressed as much as they should be by people running for office. And so we put out we at our own expense mailed out stuff. We got some answers back. Primarily, it was a bunch of libertarians. Most of the rest of the people on Republican, Democrat, Green, et cetera, just kind of ignored us. But what it did was it allowed us to put together voting guides so that we can, not say, here's who you should vote for, but here's what these people's positions are on these issues. And then we didn't even have to include what our position was, because the ACA had a list of position statements, which was available on the website. So these organizations, despite being nonprofits, they can't endorse candidates and they can't endorse parties, but they can give their position on issues, and they can do voter guides, and they can work towards church-state separation, and they can educate the public. And what I'm seeing is they're not. And by the way,
no.
Full open disclosure, I'm a board member of American Atheist. I'm more than a little irritated at them as well for not making use of these big platforms that we have to promote the American Atheist Convention or what's going on there. We're constantly trying to, we're going to reach out. I'll message Nick or somebody and be like, hey, what's going on? We get somebody on for the show. We can promote this kind of thing. It seems like there's a huge chunk of media that can reach people. And most of the organizations, atheist, skeptic, humanist, all of them, aren't making good enough use of this. And instead, we're having places like The Line where we're getting information out, we're having call-in shows, we're interacting. And then there's a bunch of secular YouTubers who I don't think it's any surprise they don't have a great deal of respect for, let me chase the algorithm and make money and not actually educate, but merely just mock religion. That, I'm not, you're probably reaching some people there. That's not what I do. And it's not what I need. But so, it'd be nice to see humanist organizations. But to answer your strict question, John is completely right. They can't put up their own candidate and endorse their candidate. And so that's why you don't see that.
Right. Okay. I mean, you mentioned about non-profit organizations. I mean, is the church exempt from that? Is that on a different thing? Because I see them endorsing people all the time. That
you don't.
Lunatic. Who is that lunatic? You can't be a Democrat and be a Christian.
That's not endorsing. That's not endorsing a candidate. So there are some that do it, and when they do, they often face pushback from the IRS and other things on, hey, we'll take your tax exempt status if you don't stop this. The biggest problem now is that they're going to be able to do it more and more with less pushback than ever before.
Yeah.
And this is just going to help Project 2025. But currently, under the law, they are not allowed to endorse candidates either. They can sit there all day long and say, you can't be a Christian and a Democrat, but they're not allowed to endorse candidates.
Wow, crazy legislation rules you have over there, man. One quick question about, I mean, are there any Congress members? Do you know of any, even in local offices, are there any that will proudly say they're atheist and that they don't worship? Because I just don't. I see a sort of glass ceiling that needs to be broken in the United States, where not just the US, the UK as well, where somebody needs to come out and say, "I'm an atheist." They don't have to diss any of the religions. Sorry, go ahead.
The answer is yes. There have been a couple, not very many. And what tends to happen is the Secular Coalition for America, as soon as they identify anybody in the House or the Senate or in significant positions of government who are willing to say, I'm secular, they jump on it, they get them to speak at events. And it's really, it's not normalized. Are there probably a ton of closeted secularists in government? Oh, yeah, no doubt about it. I've spoke to some of them. And as it stands, even 10, 15 years ago, it was not politically wise to be running as an open secularist. It's absolute suicide politically, career-wise, for that job to do it now.
Yeah, there's actually political campaigns where they run on claiming that their opponent is either secretly an atheist or they're not as religious as they feel like they should be. So, I mean, that's definitely a thing that happens here. Right. Well, I haven't heard the Satanist claim just yet. That I feel like in this particular respect, Satanists would actually be worse than calling somebody an atheist. But so there is a Congressional Freethought Caucus. Where I don't know if all the members have to be like atheist or secular in nature, but they're all very much dedicated to like a separation of church and state and those kind of values. And I mean, it's got a pretty hefty list here. Like I believe Jared Huffman from California and Jamie Raskin are part of it. and the Rashida Tlaib that you were talking about a second ago, she's also in it. So like, there's plenty of people that are definitely fighting for the separation of church and state, but also fighting for like a more free thought America, free thought in America. And so you do have, those particular coalitions, but they are incredibly small, especially when you compare them to like the conservative Christians and like their whole, I'm sure there's one or more faith caucuses or something like that. I mean, Donald Trump has that faith office where he's got that charlatan, Paul White.
Crazy, that crazy bin who does the speaking in tongues. His faith advisor.
Yeah. Well, I mean, she runs the faith office now, so like she's in a pretty key position in the White House currently.
I mean, I feel like this is a opportune time for like a real. I mean, you guys know your country better than me, but I just feel like there's a political will for a huge fight back. I mean, Bernie and AOC are pulling in massive crowds, and if you could tie in a huge separation, if Bernie and AOC went further than just saying oligarchy and said church, if they just said tax the oligarchy, tax the church,
they would lose everything.
Suicide,
they would lose everything. It would be absolute disaster.
You think?
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay. Oh, I know. So one of the things is, I love Bernie. I love AOC. I love shit. Arden can correct me. Kat Abigazala.
Yep.
Oh, she's amazing. Yeah.
And amazing. There's tons of people in office, Jasmine Crockett and others. I mean, I don't agree with all of them on everything, but they're great. When you see, they're doing great numbers. Yes, there's a backlash, and they are using that to potentially build some momentum. Right now, Pete Buttigieg is polling better even than AOC, and that guy is brilliant and competent, which means he'll probably never be elected to any office, and he should be elected to the highest office. But the thing is, you cannot make this about religion. For whatever reason, the backlash has made that, in my view, and I could be wrong, I'd love to find out that I'm wrong, but in my view, it's absolutely impossible. If you go after we tried saying, look, this is Project 2025. They're implementing right-wing, fascist, Christian nationalism right in front of your face, and they still won. And so you're seeing the frustrated people happily going out and, yay, we're with Bernie and AOC, oligarchy bad, fascism bad. And then the people feel like they now feel better, and they feel like they've done something, and they've done fuck all. But you need to keep doing that, because eventually that sort of interaction where you're not actually accomplishing anything is going to coincide with getting someone elected somewhere. But if Bernie were to come out and say, the 1% really needs to be taken on, and I'm a godless heathen, I'm an atheist, I'm a secularist, any phrasing of that, we need to stand up against Project 2025 and the church. He's done. The country has demonstrated it's not ready for left. It's not ready for left of center. It is definitely not ready for anything that stands up against Christian nationalism and religious privilege. We have a lot of work to do to get it there, and I don't know what the path is. I'm with Bernie. I'm with AOC. I'm, with all of them. I don't understand it. I literally every day I wake up and I'm like, am I being punked? Am I in a simulation? None of this shit makes any sense. So while I share your idealism, I don't share the optimism that now is a ripe time to strike from a secular perspective. I think it may be a ripe time to strike from a humanist perspective, but not necessarily with that label.
Sure. Well, Yeah, I mean, yeah, thanks for your insight, guys. I mean, it's strange here because here in Spain, everyone knows Spain's a pretty Catholic country. You know, we've got churches everywhere, church bells ringing all day, every day. But the youth here, the younger people, I teach in a university, and 90% of the people 18 to 24 are either mildly religious but extremely secular in their views on they're sort of agnostic, sort of believing, but they're not Catholics or devout Christians in any way whatsoever. And we just don't have this issue yet in the USA, the land of the free. It's a strange place you guys live in. Anyway, thanks for your insight, guys. It was really nice talking to you on this.
Yep. Thanks, Rob. Cheers. Be safe. Yeah, we live in a strange world, John. We live in a strange country. And honestly,
yeah.
What surprised me the most, what I thought I was leveraging in talking about politics from like 2014 on, is I suspected that religion was aging away and that the youth were generally more progressive, more secularist, more lefty, more pro-gay rights, more, all these things. And there's been this weird backlash where the youth are moving right. But they're moving right in a way that they not that they used to be. This isn't a fiscal thing. It's a hateful thing. It is.
Yeah.
It is taking their privilege and sticking a megaphone on it and saying, oh, well, I'm doing all right. You guys need to pay your way. Well, I'm sorry that mommy and daddy gave you the sort of life where you didn't learn empathy, where you didn't learn compassion, where you didn't learn what it meant to struggle, where you didn't understand that perhaps you, as little Cindy Lou Who, aren't going to be treated the same by police officers that my friend Durante might be. I'm sorry that they didn't give you a sense of compassion and empathy so that you could recognize sometimes, even for the best people, even for people who are part of your little community, they fall through the cracks. They go into medical debt. They go into medical bankruptcy. I'm sorry that you don't understand that not everybody who's brown is here illegally, or that you should be considering that sort of thing at all. I'm sorry that you don't care or understand what due process is. I'm sorry that you don't seem to know or care anything about science. I'm sorry that we built an internet and shoved TikTok videos at you until you are too fucking stupid to vote competently and to understand anything. You can't string a goddamn sentence together. You can't make a coherent, cogent thought. The only reason I'm not giving up is because I watched some incredible young people going up against Jordan Peterson. Now, granted, while he's a big fish in the sense of draws views, he's very, very, very low hanging. He's the second lowest hanging fruit in the apologetics tree. And he might be the lowest if you could understand what he was saying, because at least you can understand Ray Comfort, who is really down there as the lowest hanging fruit.
And like and subscribe, or Jimmy will have to go on a polyamorous dating show to win some prize money.
Wait, I want to do that. So also hit like and subscribe, and then go to patreon.com/calltheline. I was trying to make you laugh and ruin the take. That's why that silly face earlier. If I was on a polyamorous dating show, I would just choose everybody. Except Frederick. Leave a comment.